Northern MPs have warned of a brain drain to infrastructure projects in the south of England. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that the Northern MPs have warned of a brain drain to infrastructure projects in the south of England, and Labour figures are struggling to explain the benefits of a major investment in the south of England to their constituents. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. So, obviously, we've covered a few times about the expansion, the talk about the expansion of the third runway at Heathrow. But specifically, I wanted to really talk about the north, and in this one, I'll talk a bit about the north-south divide, because one of my, and this is coming from somebody who is lived just down the lives pretty much on the outskirts of London, not central, but in London on the outskirts per se, yeah, where I live, and so regularly knows London in and out. And as somebody who's very happy and very reliant that they have public transport and not the need to own a car from where I live, that's not the same for a lot of people up the north. And so far, we've not really heard any major infrastructure projects announced in the north of England. We've not heard anything too big, and maybe it's because the media haven't been highlighting it enough. And feel free to highlight, and feel free down in the comments if you live in the north or mid parts of England, like apart from, well, it's essentially going to be whatever's left of HS2. Like, give me some projects, that are taking place in the north. But it is the whole expansion of Heathrow does play into that once again, that reminiscence of all the money, all the wealth, all the money, all the wealth, all the power is going to be in London, Westminster again, when it's supposed to be the case of the power is supposed to be distributed instead. And it feels like the government is just looking at Heathrow saying they're the big major hub airport and let's focus on London and around there. Whereas my mind is like, why don't we do something like a major hub airport? Why are we not thinking somewhere up north? Why are we not thinking somewhere on the southeast? Why are we not thinking somewhere different? Why are we always thinking about London? London is already pretty strong in itself. London can take care of itself. Why are we not thinking about outside infrastructure projects on a big scale of something that would be of a benefit to the Midlands, to the north, to the likes of Newcastle, or something down on the sides of Plymouth, or even crossing the borders over into Wales? Why are we not thinking outside the box? Why are we thinking about the capital? And this term brain drain, because that's what I think it is. I feel like a lot of money's being poured just to try and boost the economy, and then everything all revolves around London, and it's not right. It's not right. We need to be doing more. And it sounds like to me that the government's number one priority is growth. And if it means prioritising the growth of London and the south of England rather than the mid and north, that's a price the Labour government's willing to pay. But I'm here to say that's not the way to fix things. That's not going to make people's lives better. But people can agree to disagree in the comments down below. But my feeling is that, so far, this Labour government haven't really given a lot for the mid and the north of England. And I'm talking about specifically England. No disrespect to Scotland or Northern Ireland and Wales specifically. But this is about, as this is bracketed as economic growth. So let's read a little bit into this, you guys. So MPs from the north of England have voiced fears of a brain drain to southern infrastructure projects after Rachel Reeves announced several major developments in the south. So the Chancellor announced on Wednesday in a speech about driving growth and that she would be given the back into expansion of Heathrow and other London airports. Because there was also I do know that she backed an approval of. I will say though, there was one infrastructure project. I think it was something to do with Bradford Leeds Airport. There would be some upgrades to Leeds Airport. I read as well. So that technically isn't London. That's more mid. That's more mid England as well. I think that's important to highlight as well. As well as kickstarting the golden triangle of scientific research between the capital and Oxford and Cambridge. So Northern mayors said they were pleased with one change announced in the speech, which was a review of the Treasury's Green Book methodology that assessed the value for money. a method that is often argued that is skewed against investment in the north of England. But the centrepieces of the speech were plans concentrated in the south, most involving private investment. Yeah, that's just the thing about South and North divide. MP said it would be hard to communicate the benefits of to their constituents and say that they are worried that a lack of qualified construction staff and engineers could mean any future projects in the north of England could lose out. But analysts said there were opportunities for highly skilled workers to diverted to other projects after the cancellation of major parts of HS2. There are some projects, but they're not. What I don't hear is like big major project, or like one insane project that I've always thought of is like when I look at the likes of Liverpool, Manchester. Why such cities like them don't have like why the concept and never an idea of their own underground network. Tube network. Why was that never a concept, never put into place, or funding put behind it? Like the amount of jobs creation that it would do and the benefit to those economies up there. Why was that never something that was considered as well? Like I just, it boggles my mind when I think about that, for example. So there are good commitments to the northern infrastructure in the speech, a bit smaller scale, but my worry is that we have a major skill shortages in this country and there are huge projects in the south of multiple airport expansions. The Oxford-Cambridge scheme and the lower Thames Crossing will be the brain drain of talent, one Northern Labour MP has said. The communication of this strategy is tone deaf, another Labour MP said. There are many possible benefits for the north because of the manufacturing associated with the big infrastructure projects, but we hear very little about any of that. There was an announcement that there would be one manufacturing infrastructure project going to be made in Sunderland, I believe. I did hear not too while ago that's been given the green light that will create 10,000 jobs in that area. I can't remember who it was though. Apologies, but there was an infrastructure project there that was, which was another good thing, I would say. Another said that Reeves had concerned them with her pledge to drive down net migration to the UK, even at the expense of growth, saying it would leave the north of England with a major loss of skilled construction workers if such large southern infrastructure projects went ahead. I think it's worth exploring the capacity restraints of the UK, especially in relation to the parts of the speech in which she said the government will reduce net migration, even if it means missing out on growth, they said. Missing out on growth sounds like missing out on infrastructure. Well, you're not going to get growth if you don't have workers. Mayors including Steve Rotherham and Greater Manchester Andy Budham have continuously pushed for the government to devolve powers over skills and training. Rotherham said he felt his city's airport was in danger of losing out. We're the largest city region in Europe without a hub airport connection, he said. It's not just an inconvenience, it's a major barrier to growth. Direct global access will be a game changer to our business, unlocking international trade, tourism and investment that's long overdue. Exactly. See, I just literally was saying we should have a major hub airport in the mids. Liverpool's John Lennon Airport has massive untapped potential. There you go. Raising this directly with the Secretary of State's responsibility because our region deserves its fair share of project benefits. Rotherham continued, these major mega infrastructure projects will need enough people with the right skills to get them built, especially with the challenges of building new hospitals, new industrial clusters and 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years. It's estimated that up to 25% of the current construction workers will retire before the end of the decade, significantly increasing the pressures in skills shortage areas. Mayors of the people with long-term strategic views of those areas are ready to help drive growth, and we are best positioned to get people trained and ready to go. Harley Muskin, the chief executive of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership, said the government should give priority to the new rail network in the north of England, or risk losing skills from the construction of projects such as HS2 and Crossrail. If the country is ever to build a Northern Powerhouse Rail, we need a tunnel from Manchester Airport to Manchester Piccadilly, continuing out towards Yorkshire, Morrison and added. It will be harder and more expensive to do this longer we wait once the main tunnelling works are over on HS2 towards Euston and the West Midlands. And return to stop-start in infrastructure would mean people retire or move abroad, and we will then have to rebuild a supply chain. Zoe Bullenham, the director of the IPPR North, said the number of construction workers have shrunk by more than 300,000 since 2019, and at its lowest level since the early 2000s. With a limited number of construction workers, there are choices to be made by government about which major projects to prioritise, and this clearly has regional impacts if major projects in the South East are committed to ahead of elsewhere in the UK, Billingham has said. Instead, we think there should be a renewed focus on the construction skills as not to hold back future projects, especially in the north. Reeves had told ITV there were key infrastructure projects already announced in the north of England. We're upgrading the Trans-Pennine route, yep, we know about that. Electrifications of the north of train lines in the north of England, investing in mass transit in West Yorkshire, where I'm an MP in these. It's the only major city in Europe that doesn't have any sort of mass transit system. We want to change that as a government, she says. The Chancellor hinted in spending review that there would be more publicly funded projects, saying she would give further details on her plan to further details of our plans for infrastructure right across the UK. So there is some projects in the north, but are they going to have the question I suppose we have to ask is there enough infrastructure projects being approved? Are they going to get the funding for them? Well, if they're tied to if this is going to be tied to in also reducing immigration numbers, then you're going to have a problem here. How are you supposed to make growth, build some of these long-term infrastructure projects if you don't have the workers for them? And I do fear, like a lot of those northern MPs and mayors are saying, about they may prioritise south of England more than the north of England. And just there, the John Lennon Airport. Why is that not why is that not an international hub? Like literally, like think of the money and the benefits for not just their economy, but for the whole UK economy if that was to be constructed. Again, like for me, that takes more of a precedence and more of a priority than a third expansion on Heathrow. For me, that screams why are we not prioritizing that? I really hope we actually have more of the infrastructure projects that they want to do in the north actually go ahead and get the funding for them rather than those in the south, because I think us, especially in London, we don't need more projects. If I'm honest, I think we are quite significant. Yes, there's always room for improvement, but I think if London's budget can accommodate a new infrastructure project, great. But I don't want a project that could be made, whether it's in the Midlands or in the north or east or west of England. I don't want those projects to be denied because they're putting funding towards London-based projects. So essentially, that's my gripe with it. But there are some, as we've said and here and seen there, and I'm sure you guys will mark out a couple of more projects down in the comments. There is some, but how many of them are actually going to get the funding and the go-ahead to do so? That is a good question, because a lot of projects, as we know, were announced and things that they were promised by the Conservative government, and they found that they didn't have the money for them. And Labour are trying to be very careful with the purse strings they claim. So, but what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of this story? What do you guys make about the infrastructure projects that are in the north and in the south and in London? What are your thoughts on this? Please share them down in the comment section below. Get interested to hear your feedback on this one. If you found this video informative or helpful to you in any way, please hit that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And share this across social media so others are notified this video. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. You can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.